Good morning. I hereby call to order this 12th meeting of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission for the year 2016, and I ask that you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we move on to our first matter for this morning's agenda, I will acknowledge the absence of Commissioner Dave Sweet. He is attending the funeral of a very good friend, so we do extend our condolences to him and note that for purposes of today's meeting, we will only have 4 members voting. So moving on to the first matter of this morning's agenda, looking at the approval for the minutes of June 9th, we'll call on Commissioner Coleman, who is the editor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've reviewed the minutes of the June 9, 2016 public meeting, and I move that they be approved as submitted.
We have a motion for approval of the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Place. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0. Moving on to our agenda for today, we'll call up our Director of the Office of Special Assistance, Cheryl Walker-Davis, to walk us through today's agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
May it please this Honorable Commission, on behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda items, commencing this morning with matters on behalf of the Office of Competitive Market Oversight. It is recommended that the Commission adopt that Bureau's recommendation in the first item pertaining to the investigation of Pennsylvania's retail electricity market and a waiver, a 3-year waiver of the Commission's regulations at 52 PA Code, Section 57173, Sub 2, in situations where a customer is requesting instant connect.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powelson, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
With regard to the next matter pertaining to the Philadelphia Gas Works request regarding implementation of procedures to facilitate natural gas supplier access to its customer account numbers, there is the motion of Vice Chairman Place.
Do I have a motion to call up this matter for consideration?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Powelson, and on to discussion for your motion, Vice Chairman Place.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, I would like my motion placed into the record, and I will read it in its entirety. Before the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission is a recommendation from the Commission's Office of Competitive Market Oversight regarding the proposal of Philadelphia Gas Works to implement procedures facilitating natural gas suppliers access to PGW customer account numbers in the instances where the account number is not available from either the customer or the eligible customer list. PGW proposes the recovery of its costs for the implementation of the account number access mechanism through its purchase of receivables program and its existing restructuring and consumer education surcharge. Specifically, PGW proposes recovery of 70% of its cost from NGSs through a POR discount, with the remaining 30% recovered through the surcharge funded by all firm ratepayers. However, upon examination, PGW's now sent POR program indicates that it is doubtful that the program can currently absorb costs of this magnitude without raising POR discount rates to levels that would threaten the viability of the POR program itself. Therefore, I suggest that PGW submit a cost recovery that is less reliant on POR, or that the company propose an entirely different method of cost recovery. Therefore, I move that 1, Philadelphia Gas Works compliance plan or cost recovery mechanism be rejected, and 2, the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Place. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Powelson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0. On the staff recommendation as amended by the motion, any further discussion? If it's okay with everyone, we'll take the previous roll call.
Great.
Motion passes 4-0.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the Office of Competitive Market Oversight's recommendation in the matter involving Valley Energy, Inc., and a temporary exemption from including natural gas supplier logos on customer bills.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Office of Special Assistants. In omnibus fashion, Madam Chairman, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the items commencing with that at the top of page 2 in the proceeding involving the Bureaus of Investigation and Enforcement versus Blue and White USA, Inc., continuing with the next item, Ruth Sanchez versus PPL Electric Utilities Corporation. It should be noted that the last item on page 2 pertaining to the formal complaint of James Cashmer versus PPL Electric Utilities Corporation has been postponed. The omnibus continues, recommending the adoption of the recommendations appearing on pages 3 and the first item at the top of page 4 in the proceeding involving the PUC's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus E&E Consulting LLC, TA E&E Transport.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Powelson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
With regard to the formal complaint proceeding involving Alan Kohick versus Pennsylvania Electric Company, there is the joint motion of Vice Chairman Place and Commissioner Coleman.
Is there a motion to call up this matter for consideration?
So moved.
And then I will second that motion, and calling on Commissioner Coleman for the joint motion.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd ask that our joint motion be entered into the record as though I read it in its entirety. Before the Commission for consideration and disposition is the petition for reconsideration of Alan Kohick, the complainant, of March 29, 2016. Mr. Kohick's complaint is dismissed by the initial decision of March 2, 2016. Also before the Commission is Pennsylvania Electric Company's answer to this petition. In this complaint, Mr. Kohick alleged that Penelec had improperly assigned him the balance owed by his tenants for one of his rental properties. The record demonstrates that foreign load was discovered by Penelec at a rental property lease to a tenant, and that, as required by law, Penelec transferred the service account and the tenant's outstanding balance into the account in Mr. Kohick's name. On January 9, 2015, the complainant contacted Penelec to inform them that the foreign load had been corrected. Penelec dispatched a field technician on January 14, 2015, who verified that the foreign load had been removed from the rental unit. On January 15, Penelec advised Mr. Kohick in writing that the tenants could now call to have service established in their name. The tenants never contacted Penelec, and Mr. Kohick did not request the service be canceled. The rental unit's account remained in Mr. Kohick's name until May 5, 2015, when Penelec disconnected service. The presiding administrative law judge properly determined that Penelec transferred the tenant's account and outstanding balance to the complainant as required by law. However, the ALJ also concluded that the law requires that the account be left in the landlord's name even after the foreign load has been corrected until the tenant calls to reestablish service in their own name. This holding is contrary to applicable case law precedent. In ACE check cashing, the Commission held that when a landlord notifies the Public Utility Commission that a foreign load situation has been corrected, the utility is to verify this correction. Once verified, the utility is to transfer the account back to the tenant's name. Since ACE check cashing, this holding has been cited to, in other cases, to become the standard practice for at least some public utilities. The standards for granting the petition for reconsideration are set forth in Dudick versus Pennsylvania Gas and Water Company's petition may succeed when they raise new or novel arguments for consideration which appear to have been overlooked by the Commission. When Mr. Kohick did not cite the ACE check cashing, it appeared that the Commission overlooked one holding from this case. Therefore, we find the Dudick standard has been met. In terms of a remedy, we do not find that a civil penalty is appropriate when recognized that the Commission in a prior ACE check cashing may have addressed this particular issue in a different way in some cases, and Penelec was not a party in that case. Accordingly, we we cannot conclude that Penelec knowingly acted contrary to case law precedent. This conduct affected one customer only, and we do not believe that a penalty is necessary to deter future violations. Instead, we conclude that Penelec should credit or refund Mr. Kohick for the amounts that accrued on the rental properties account from the time Penelec verified that the foreign load was corrected until the time service was disconnected. Therefore, we move that the initial decision be modified consistent with this joint motion, and that the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this joint motion.
Hearing the motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Powson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. On the matter as amended by the motion, any further discussion? Hearing none. If we're okay, we'll take the previous roll call. Motion passes 4-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services. Again, in omnibus fashion, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendations, commencing with that in the proceeding involving electric generation supplier license cancellations at the top of page 5, continuing with the remaining items on pages 5, 6, 7, and 8 through and including the recommendation in the matter involving the quarterly earnings of Pennsylvania utilities.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Law Bureau, with those recommendations appearing on page 9, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff's recommendations in the two proceedings there noted involving the rulemaking to amend the provisions of 52 PA Code, Chapter 56, to comply with the amended provisions of the 66 PA Chapter 14, and that, of course, pertains to the standards and billing practices for residential utility service, as well as the recommendation in the proceeding involving the implementation of Section 1329 of the Public Utility Code with regard to the valuation of assets of municipal and authority-owned water and wastewater systems.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Powson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
And turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Office of Administrative Law Judge on page 10 of the public meeting agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation in the proceeding involving the application to abandon services as well as the sale and transfer of assets involving Mountain Energy LTD, noting the statement of Commissioner Powelson.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Coleman. Under discussion, I would recognize Commissioner Powson.
Thank you, Chairman. Before us here this morning is a recommended decision approving the joint petition for settlement filed by Mountain Energy, Peoples Natural Gas, Leatherwood, and the Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement and the Office of Consumer Advocate. This settlement, which is essentially authorizes Mountain Energy to abandon service to its natural gas customers, is no longer as a result, is no longer in a position of serving those customers. And this morning, the resolution is an unfortunate situation that began almost 2 years ago. By way of background, during an unusually cold week in November of 2014, Mountain Energy experienced difficulty maintaining system pressures required to serve its customer base. This meant spotty and unreliable service for many of Mountain Energy customers during one of the coldest weeks of the year. In fact, this particular entity is in Vice Chairman Place's backyard.
Yes, it is.
And if I remember correctly, it was then State Senator Tim Solobay who immediately reached out to the PUC, alerting us of this situation. And we worked very effectively with Paul Metro and our gas safety team to have field inspectors on the ground dealing with a potential solution to this failing entity. We instituted an emergency order that provided a temporary solution, but today's settlement represents the permanent solution to this problem. This was a very complicated situation with many moving parts, and I'd be remiss if I didn't commend all the parties involved, particularly Peoples Natural Gas and the PUC staff and the Gas Safety Division of I&E and the Emergency Preparedness Section of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services for taking a real hard situation, putting the customers first, and finding a very positive outcome. Today's settlement preserves natural gas service to over 80% of the existing Mountain Energy customers. For those customers, the settlement provides stability and certainty by allowing them to become part of the Peoples Natural Gas system. With respect to the other 20% of Mountain Energy's customers, they will be served by Peoples. However, these customers will be converted over to propane service. As ALJ Hoyer succinctly and accurately stated, the settlement here this morning proposed by the joint petitioners makes the best of a bad situation, and I think that is well said. And I couldn't agree more in light of that, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank again all those who worked very diligently on this matter to come up with a workable solution to a very difficult problem. And even more importantly, I'd like to thank the PUC staff for never losing sight of the Commission's duty to ensure customers have safe access to a reliable utility service. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Powelson, for your statement. I couldn't agree with you more, but I also would like to take this opportunity to thank you for all the hard work that you did on this matter, because you have been very passionate dealing with this issue over the years. So we thank you for also your hard work as well.
Well, you're too kind, and I have some gray hair to show for it, but thank you.
I would also reiterate the chairman's comments. All of you did a spectacular job on a very difficult situation, a very cold, very remote part in a way of this Commonwealth. So thank you, all of you.
Chairman, I'd like to associate myself with Commissioner Powelson's statement.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the staff recommendation say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
With regard to Deputy Chief ALJ Hoyer and ALJ Long's initial decision approving the settlement in the proceeding involving the Mid-Atlantic Interstate Transmission LLC, Metropolitan Edison Company, and Pennsylvania Electric Company's joint application, there is the motion of Commissioner Powelson.
Is there a motion to call up this matter for consideration?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Vice Chairman Place. And under discussion, I would recognize Commissioner Powelson for his motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My motion here is fairly long and technical, so I will not do the Jim Cawley version of the read here this morning, but I'll read the Cliff Notes version of today's motion because it is very technical in nature, and I commend all the offices in the joint effort in putting this motion together. Before the Commission for consideration and disposition is an uncontested joint petition for settlement regarding the joint application of Mid-Atlantic Interstate Transmission, LLC, and affiliated electric distribution companies, MedEd and Penelec. The application seeks approval from the Commission for MedEd and Penelec to transfer all of their existing transmission assets to MATE, a newly created standalone transmission affiliate. As a result, the transaction proposed in the settlement, MATE will assume MedEd and Penelec's obligations to serve Pennsylvania transmission customers in their respective EDC service territories pursuant to FERC-approved interstate transmission tariffs. Additionally, MATE is seeking the public utility status under the Pennsylvania Public Utility Code. By the initial decision, the ALJs assigned to this matter recommended that the Commission adopt the settlement. I believe that the settlement reflects a carefully balanced compromise of interest of all the parties, and it's clearly in the public interest. I commend the parties for arriving at this fair and comprehensive solution to, again, a very complicated matter in front of us. I'd make one change, however, to the terms of the settlement, which would limit the certification of service rights to interstate service only. Under a system of shared jurisdiction, the limitation contained in paragraph 19 of the settlement would create unnecessary complexity and confusion. Therefore, I would modify the settlement, paragraph 19, to authorize MATE to furnish public utility service in Pennsylvania without distinguishing between inter or intrastate service. Transmission companies are of course, a fairly new concept, and we need to be clear on the division of jurisdiction that we share with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And for the record here this morning, the scope of PUC jurisdiction and regulation over these assets that are being transferred to MATE will not change. Although rates will continue to be regulated by the FERC, as MEDED and Penelex transmission services are currently, states are clearly authorized to exercise their traditional regulatory authority over such things as reliability, safety, and adequacy of bulk transmission system service to the extent that such actions are not inconsistent with FERC's and NERC jurisdiction. As such, here this morning, the Commission will retain jurisdiction over MATE with respect to safety and reliability of its transmission facilities, while FERC will regulate MATE with respect to rates. Therefore, I move here this morning that 1, paragraph 19 of the settlement be modified as specified in this motion, and finally, that the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Place. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0. On the matter as amended by the motion, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the previous roll call without any objection. The motion passes 4-0.
And it is recommended that the Commission adopt ALJ Gould's recommended decision approving the joint petition for settlement in the Philadelphia Gas Works rate case appearing at the bottom of page 10.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Powson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
With that concluding the presentation of regular agenda items, we now turn to the carry-in agenda. It is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation of the Law Bureau in the first proceeding involving the petition for reconsideration involving Duquesne Light Company's request for a waiver and suspension of meter testing requirements for its deployed legacy meters, and the Commission's order entered with regard thereto on June 23rd.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Madam Chair.
Excuse me,
Just
Commissioner
one.
Powson.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, this is kind of impromptu, but I just recommend here this morning, I know we've had a good working relationship with Duquesne, but one of the concerns that I have, if you look across the Pennsylvania footprint of companies that are on an accelerated basis of new metering technology, and you go back to the incident associated with the polar vortex, this utility really has to be keenly focused on accelerated deployment of the smart meter technology to customers. And I know we had a snafu with this particular company, again, going back to the polar vortex, with being able to provide those customers a 3-day business switch. So I support the petition for reconsideration, but I think it's appropriate here this morning that the company be put on notice that we are looking to see some type of innovative approach to get these meters deployed on a much more timely basis. This company seems to be a laggard in that approach. But again, I just want to go on the record here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
And it is recommended that the Commission adopt the Law Bureau's recommendation in the matter involving the request of Razir PA LLC for an emergency order permitting a waiver of the Commission's requirement that vehicles operated in taxi service be no older than 10 model years.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Powson. Any discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to add that, first of all, thank John Herzog and the team in Law Bureau in really getting this expedited emergency order approved. As we all know, big event coming to the city of Philadelphia, the Democratic National Committee. We've had a very unfortunate situation in southeastern Pennsylvania with some new light rail trains that have axle cracks and as a result, 94% of these light rail trains had to be taken out of service. So this, believe it or not, this approval today is going to serve a critical need as the political convention comes to Philadelphia, because I firmly believe we would have had a transportation quagmire. So again, I commend all of us here today joining together to support that effort. And again, I thank John Herzog for his leadership and our chief counsel and his entire team for the effort here this morning. It should be recognized.
Definitely. Commissioner, Vice Chairman Plate.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Other than
When I
to
see a
agree
hand
with-
moving, okay,
Other than to associate myself with Commissioner Powell's comments.
great. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, that does conclude the presentation of public meeting agenda items.
Thank you. If there's nothing else before us, I would ask that people do stay after we gavel out. We unfortunately, under our summer theme, it appears, have another retirement and want to acknowledge the hard work of this individual. But no formal matters coming before us under our business meeting. I will adjourn the meeting.